sometimes I think when we have end of seasons the way we just had with the Phillies, it is easy to kind of have those very, very, very strong reactions right away, right? It's like, get rid of that guy, move off him, trade him, fire him. But it's probably best for all of us if we just take a little deep breath and let it sink in for a weekend and think. And I think I did that at least for myself this weekend when it came to Rob Thomson. I sat there and I said to myself, all right, I was mad, I was frustrated, I was upset. But what is the right move for the Phillies? And I think it's best that we have this discussion today. You know, when Broads was in for you on Friday, we were discussing more of just like the emotion of the day, the emotion of the season ending. But now that we've had a full weekend to think about it, I am thinking very clearly on the Rob Thomson thing. And it's actually not even that much of a decision to me. It's time for the Phillies to move off of Rob Thomson. It's time for a new manager. And this is not like I think he's a bad manager. I don't like Rob. I like Topper. I've been a fan of his mostly since he got here. I've been a fan of Rob Thomson. I think overall he's done a nice job as the manager of the Phillies since 2022. But as I look forward to the future, I no longer think he's the best person for the job. And I keep thinking about it from this perspective. It's not about the regular season anymore. The Phillies are past that. They are, you know, if they have relative health, they're a lock for 90 wins and should be in the playoffs. It's about winning the World Series. And I keep coming back to the big major decisions in the postseason over the last 4 years, whether it be taking Wheeler out for Alvarado in 22, the whole Craig Kimbrell thing in 23, not pivoting off the guys in that lineup enough in 23, and then this year with the bunt. I can't get over the bunt. And I know there were a lot of things that played out, including Kerkering throwing the ball to the backstop on Thursday night to end this thing. I just think it is time for a change, and I think the Phillies need to view this through a very simple prism. Is this the right manager to win the World Series? That's it. Not to get us to the playoffs, not to be good, to win the World Series. Sometimes you have to go from good to great to achieve greatness. And I think Rob Thompson's a good manager. I don't think he's a great one. Hugh, I would move off a Topper. The Phillies, of course, have a decision to make here. Matt Gelb in The Athletic wrote about it this weekend, saying, you know, this could come here in a few days. He wrote, quote, a managerial change could be on the table as the Phillies evaluate everything in the coming days. Last October, the Phillies offered Thomson a sign of faith by extending his contract through 2026. If they keep Thomson this time, he could enter next season as a lame duck manager with a firm target on his back. I want no part of that. That, to me, is just a distraction waiting to happen. He's either the manager or he's not. None of this lame duck thing. Hugh, I would move off a Topper. I think it's time for a change to the Phillies dugout.
You know what? It's unfortunate that we're here, but you know, and we talked about this last week, that this is probably going to be, you know, one of those things that heads are going to roll. Yep. No question about that. And I don't think that Topper's head needs to be the one that rolls. It wasn't his fault Orion Kerkering sailed that ball. It wasn't, Joe. And that's kind of how I look at it. That was on the players. There's been too many times that I've watched games when it comes to these Phillies playing where guys, the moment have seemed too big and they kind of came up short. And that's what that moment was. But to your point, something has to change. And with the salary that these guys are making, it's probably not going to be some of the major moves that we want them to be. So it looks like it might be Topper, but I do not agree with that.
Yeah, you're right. It's not his fault that Orion Kerkering had a brain meltdown. It's not. That's one moment. But it's kind of a microcosm of the Phillies under him. Close
Totally
but no cigar. The moment gets to them. And look, if Game 2 had gone differently, perhaps the Phillies are up 2-1, and that Kerkering meltdown sends this thing back to Philadelphia for Game 5 instead of ending the series where it did. Like, I understand that there's a lot of reasons a baseball team loses, and it's not typically always the manager, but sometimes you got to go from good to great. The Red Sox, when they broke the curse, they went from Grady Little to Terry Francona, and it got them over the top. This happens all the time in baseball, where a manager can get you so far, but you need the next manager to win the World Series. 215-592-9494. Do you want Rob Thomson back as Phillies manager? There's a lot of dominoes that are going to fall this offseason, and things the Phillies could do, changes they can make, payroll stuff. Heck, we'll talk about it later. Ruben tomorrow and Saturday throughout the idea of trading a big name away from this roster that makes a lot of money. We'll speculate on who that might be. That all is to come. But the first decision they have to make is, do they want a new manager? And I don't know who that would be. You know, there's different ways this could go. It could be someone we're not thinking of. It could be a young manager. It could be someone who was already fired and then gets their second shot. That was Terry Francona for the Red Sox all those years ago. It could be someone Dave Nebraska had experience with. Or it could be Bruce Bochy. I mean, one of the greatest managers in baseball history is just at home right now. He's no longer the Rangers manager. The Giants are not going to bring him back, it seems like, so they're going to go in a different direction rather than nostalgia. And the guy's won everywhere. He took the Padres to the World Series. He won lost multiple rings with the San Francisco Giants. He won with the Rangers a couple years ago. And we're talking about an all-time manager, and I could see him and Dombrowski looking at each other and be like, this is what we do. We win championships, and you're the missing piece here. 215-592-9494. Do you want Rob Thomson back as Phillies manager? I look, I don't want to say it's all his fault, but at some point for me, he's a reflection of what happens in October. And every October, they seem to come up just a little bit short, and I can't help but think he's part of that.
No, I get what you're saying, but I don't think so. When I think about the times that we've come up short in the postseason, it's been bats on shoulders, no home runs being hit, all of that kind of stuff. No small ball being played. But I get what you're saying because it's an era where the players have the most power. The fact that Bryce Harper had so much to say about Ranger when he was out there kind of tells you that. So I get it, but I'm not a fan of this. I'm really not, because at the end of the day, it's on the players to make plays.
Yeah, but it's also on him to put them in an advantage. I don't ever really feel a strategic advantage that he gets.
No,
he had one good game in game
but
two.
how was that moment when Kirkering did what he did on Topper, though?
Well, that moment, two things. One, I don't really think that moment's on him, but he was bad all season with inherited runners. Did we think he was going to get out of that? I mean, he almost did, but he put him in again, I'm not firing him because of Ryan Kirkering threw the ball past JT.
No, I get it.
I'm firing him because it's been 4 years, and I don't think
you got to change something.
Well, no, I don't think he's the guy to win a World Series. I mean, you go back to Phillies history, we've had this with Ozark in the 70s. I mean, John Middleton has referenced this era before, where the Phillies were close but no cigar all the way through the end of the 70s, and eventually it became Dallas Green, and eventually the Phillies won a championship. I mean, sometimes there are managers that get you to the brink but can't get you over the hump. And the more I watch Topper, that's what I see. A manager that gets you to the brink but not over the hump. And at some point, I don't want it to be next year. We waste another year of these guys, and they're not getting younger, right? This is an older team. And then we say it's time, and then maybe their prime is past them.
I'm looking at this box score.
Yep.
From this game. Trey Turner, not a hit. Schwarber got a hit. Bryce didn't get a hit. Bohm got a hit. That tells me everything that I need to know. That's not on Topper. That's on the players. They need to go out there knowing what that game meant and how hard they fought the other night. You got to close it out. You have to do your job. And to me, when I look at that box score, they didn't do their job, Joe. I mean, I get it. It's easy to fire Topper. He did his job. He put him in position to be successful. But at the end of the day, the guys that make the money are the ones that have to make this thing go.
No, I understand that. And most of these guys are going to be here next year. I just view it as, they have to do their job better, but that's baseball. I mean, sometimes your best hitters aren't going to hit. Ohtani went 1 for 16 in the series. His team still won. Every time we talk about Topper, we make excuses for why. Because people like him. People like Rob Thomson, and I like him. I mean, he's a nice guy. And he really rescued the Phillies 4 years ago when Girardi had this thing falling down the toilet. I mean, he saved that season. But I can't. You don't get to keep your job forever because you did one great job 4 years ago.
Let me ask you a question. Is Dave Roberts considered a great manager?
No, but he's better than Topper. He's better than Topper.
I think one probably could argue that the talent he has is better than the talent Topper
has. But we're not. We're not going to give Topper that talent. We're not going to become the Dodgers.
I just don't think that is the right move to make. I don't feel like it's his fault when you talk about the players that you've amassed and the way that you went into this. And one of the arguments was, Joe, that your pitching was one of the strongest attributes that you had going into this.
Sure.
It was. And for your pitcher to make that egregious mistake at the end, to me, that was not Topper's doing. That was on Kirkering. He should. I mean, as many times as you've been in these big moments to have that happen and be the end of the game, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, sure. And look, I'm not firing Topper because they lost on that particular play. I'm moving off him because I think they need a better manager to win the World Series. 215-592-9494. The dust is settled. We've had a weekend to let this thing marinate here. Do you want Rob Thomson back? Kyle, where are you at on Topper as the Phillies, we think, are going to make a decision here in the next few days?
Yeah, and I still feel kind of the way that I felt on Friday, at least in terms of this series. Like, I understand the top of the lineup didn't hit, but the top of the Dodgers lineup didn't hit either.
Yep.
Like, I don't like this whole idea that we basically make this all about what the Phillies did. Everyone's like, our pitching was great, but our batting sucked. What about our pitching was great? Their pitching was great. It was a meeting of two great teams, two of the best teams, I think, that were left in baseball. I still believe that the Phillies and the Dodgers were the top two teams in the entire field. So it to me comes down to the little things. Like, I know it's popular for everybody to say, like, oh, here we go. Like, the Stars didn't hit again. Like, the Stars just met a ridiculously stacked pitching staff against the Dodgers. It was 1-1 games, 2-3 games, like 3-5, whatever. Like, the margins were so slim, and they didn't do the right things around the margins. The Dodgers just made fewer mistakes than we did, and a lot of those mistakes came down to Rob Thomson. They can't change really their stripes. It's not they're not going to be able to get Bryce Harper out of here. I mean, I know we'll get to this later, but it's going to be difficult, I think, to move off of other contracts. Trey Turner, right? Like Kyle Schwarber, we'll see about him, but it's difficult for me to envision an immediate upgrade to Kyle Schwarber right now. So, like, I think really what it comes down to is they just need a new voice, something that could maybe make some of these guys uncomfortable next season. And if a lot of the core is going to look the same, then I just think it needs to be a new manager next year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Look, in the biggest moments, they fail. In the biggest moments, they're a bad base running team. In the biggest moments, they make critical mistakes. And at some point, it's got to come back to the dugout. At some point, we can't just say, I like Rob Thomson, he gets a job for life. I want to win the World Series. I want to win the World Series with this group. I'm moving off a topper. Where do you come down? 215-592-9494. We've had a weekend to let this marinate. Do you want Rob Thomson back as Phillies manager? I do not. Hugh Douglas says, bring him back. Kyle's with me, says, it's time to move on.